In this video, I'm going to be going over how to set up a ZeroOne Coin Masternode on Hive OS. Today we're going to be walking through how to set up a ZeroOne Masternode, and we're actually going to be doing this in Hive OS. The first thing we need to do is we need to head over to our wallet, and you're going to need at least 1,000 ZOC. I have exchanged some Bitcoin, and I actually have 3,500 just because that was the minimum to meet the exchange requirements on GraviX. So we've already done that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get a receiving address. I've already generated a receiving address, but if you haven't, just click New, give it a name for the label, hit OK, it'll generate one, and then we're going to come to the Masternode one, and we're just going to copy that address. We're going to do send. I'm going to paste in that address. We can see it imported the label from Masternode. And we want to send exactly 1,000 ZOC to the Masternode address. So just do that. Make sure this checkbox is unchecked. Very important. Hit send. Hit yes. And there we can see it sent it to ourselves. And now what we need to do, the wallet itself doesn't really have a Masternode section, so we need to go Tools, Debug Console, and under the console we're going to type Masternode space outputs. And it's going to give us that transaction ID and the index. So we're going to need these. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy these. Our next step after that's copied is to head on over to our rig. And for me, I'm going to use PuTTY, but I'm going to be installing this on my node server that is in Hive OS. So I'm just going to grab that IP address. We're going to use PuTTY and remote into it. Once we're logged in, the first thing we want to do is we want to create a new user account that the ZOC processes are going to run under. To do that, we're just going to use the adduser command. So we're going to do sudo adduser, and I'm just going to call this one ZOC_node. We got to give it a password. Confirm the password. And on the name, I'm just going to do ZOC node. And then I'm going to hit enter all the way through for the rest of those. Once a user is created, our next step is to grant it access to sudo. So to do that, we're going to do usermod -a uppercase G sudo ZOC_node. Oh, we got to do a sudo on that. Okay. Now we should be able to switch to the ZOC node account. So we'll just do su ZOC_node, use the password, and now we need to download a setup file. So we're going to do wget -uppercase O. We're going to name this file ZOC_mn.sh. Give it the URL. This URL was provided by the ZOC team. This is where they maintain the installer script on GitHub, and it's just a shorted version of the GitHub URL. Okay, now that that's downloaded, we're going to do sudo sh ZOC_mn.sh. It's going to ask us for our password. Now this is going to go through. It's going to install the dependencies that ZeroOne Coin may require. And then it's going to go out to their Amazon Web Services repository, download the pre-built binaries to run the blockchain. It's going to run a sync just like you would do with any normal daemon or really any Qt wallet. Sync that, then it's going to install the two modules that ZeroOne Coin requires. It's going to ask us some questions along the way. It's going to detect your IP address, confirm it's right, and hit yes. And then it's going to ask us if we have a private key. And we're going to say no. We're going to let it generate one itself. You can always generate one in your wallet first if you want to, and then copy and paste that over. But I like to just let the system generate one. Now that the installer's done, we can see it's basically telling us it is completed. Here it gives us a line that we can copy and paste into our wallet. So I'm going to do that. And I'm just going to save that off to the side for a second. And that's going to include the new private key. So make sure you hold on to that. That is the private key that is associated to your Masternode, not to your wallet. And you can always generate a new one at any point and switch it if you feel that you've been compromised. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to run this command to check the status. It looks like our blocks are still at 0. Maybe syncing headers. Part of the install process downloads a bootstrap, so it may be still trying to import and index that bootstrap file. So we'll just let this sit for a while, and then we'll check it and make sure our blocks has increased from 0 in several minutes from now. And now if we run this command, which is going to be get blockchain info, we can see once this runs, our headers are currently at 40,000, actually 400,000, no, 40,000. So it is syncing. We just need to let it wait until I'm going to let this sync. And while that's happening, we can hop back over to our server that has our wallet on it. And we can go Tools, Open Wallet Configuration File. Sorry, not that one. Tools, Open Masternode Configuration File. And in here, we can copy and paste what we had copied from that output, plugging in the collateral output index and the collateral output transaction ID that we copied earlier. So we go ahead and save that. Close that file. Now we want to close and reopen the wallet. Now we can see the blocks are pretty much updated. If we look at the block count, this should match what we're seeing on the Explorer. The other thing we can do is we can run that same command, but instead of get info, we can actually run mnsync space status. And here you can see it'll say Masternode sync finished. The asset ID should be all 9s, and if so, you're good to go. So now you want to hop back over to the VM, or wherever your wallet is. And we've already modified the Masternode configuration. If you don't see the Masternode tab, then we need to go Settings, Options, Wallet, Show Masternodes tab. And then the other thing I like to do is enable coin control features. This will be able to show you how many of your coins are locked up. Hit OK. And we actually need to close out and reopen. Now we're going to let it sync real quick, the Masternode info. If we hop over to the Masternodes tab, you can see we have our Masternode here. However, it's flagged as missing, and we're going to need to start it. But first, we're going to go ahead and wait for this to fully synchronize. Once that sync's done, we're going to head on over to the Masternodes tab, click on our Masternode, and we're going to just say start alias. It's going to ask us, are you sure you want to start? We're going to say yes. And here we can say it says successfully started. and it's going to switch to pre-enabling. And then after a few minutes, we should see this thing go to active. So once that switches to pre-enabled, you're basically just going to wait anywhere between 15 minutes and an hour. Eventually should flip over to enabled. One thing you do need to do is make sure that if you're running a firewall on your server, you allow through port 10,000. Also make sure you port forward port 10,000 on your router. And then once you forward the port, we can do open port checker. We head on over to the open port checker and we plug in port 10,000, hit check. It should be open, which it is. Perfect. So now we just need to basically wait for this to switch to enabled. Now it's been approximately 15 minutes and you can see our Masternode has switched to enabled. So we'll basically just wait a couple hours and hopefully we'll get a Masternode payment. This is a relatively newer blockchain, so there shouldn't be too many Masternodes. And then the next thing we want, in fact, if we jump over to all Masternodes, we can see there are 559 Masternodes on this specific network. So the next thing that we can do while we're waiting for that payment is, if you remember earlier, I enabled coin control. The reason I did that is it makes it easier to see how many coins are locked up. So if we head over to the Send tab, we now have this input section. If you click that button, you can see how many coins are locked. So we can see I have 1,000 locked into this wallet for that Masternode. And anytime I want to delete the Masternode, I can just remove it from the Masternode config file and release the lock on those 1,000. It's been several hours and we finally received our first Masternode payment, and we actually hit a couple blocks back to back here. So we've got at 5:05, we did receive our very first Masternode payment of 9.17 ZOC, and then just a short time later, less than approximately 12 minutes later, we got another payment of another 9.17 ZOC. So this is really good. We knocked out 2 blocks already. And full disclaimer, if you look at this on Masternodes online, it may look a little bit different. In fact, we can hop on over there and let's refresh. And what we can see here is our daily income, which basically says 0.2 cents, but we're estimated to only get 12.7 ZOC a day, and we already got 18. So we've already exceeded that daily. And this says that the average Masternode reward is 17 hours. But it also says, so our ROI is 78 days, right? It's got a 465% ROI right now. One of the big reasons for spinning this up, even though the price is super low. And if we look at active Masternodes, it says 402 here. However, if we hop back over and we take a look at Masternodes, we go to all Masternodes and we sort by we sort by status, and we look at the enabled, and if I scroll here, you're only going to see a handful that are actually enabled. So these are the only ones who are actually receiving rewards right now. So that's why I was able to hit 2 quick blocks there. You're going to be seeing, I'm going to be seeing a lot of blocks. This is actually mine, right? So it's been up for 8.5 hours. I hit 2 blocks. A lot of these are just new start required. They might be running an old version of the node or whatever it may be. These are all pre-enabled, meaning they either didn't forward their ports or they didn't set it up properly. So from an active standpoint, we're actually only looking at, you can see the total node count here was 550. And unfortunately, this filter doesn't really work for us because it includes all the pre-enabled. But if we just do a quick count here, there's actually only 27 nodes that are active and up and running and connectable. So we'll be knocking out a bunch of quick rewards, no doubt. One thing to know with Masternode payments is it does require 101 confirmations in order for it to be free and clear in your wallet. So here we can see this one has 22 confirmations, this one has 11 confirmations. So I just need to wait for those to mature, and then they will be spendable.